world. She is here today to help bridge the gap between mothers and daughters by bringing her expertise as a social and emotional learning educator, and her experience as a mother of a teenage daughter to stage with her message, transformation through transparency. Let's give it for Tracey Armstrong.
Hello. I was debating back there. I'm like, do I want to stay up here? Do I want to come down there? Do I want to use the mic? Do I think I'm going to trip over the carpet? So, I say I'm loud enough. I'm a coach, so I'm going to come down here, okay? Hello, everyone. It has been such an amazing event so far. Has it been amazing? Give it up for all. And the brunch. Give it up for the brunch. Okay. Yeah, so as she said, I'm an educator, coach, and motivator. So I am in the classroom still with students, and I teach social and emotional learning to teenagers. So I get the opportunity to really dive into their brains. My class is called the Think Tank class. And I cause them to think about things that they don't normally think about. And then on the other side, I also do motivational speaking and professional speaking, to where my goal is to help transform the lives of people by transforming their minds. So today's message is transformation through transparency. So the first question I want to ask, why is it so difficult for us to be transparent with each other? And then, why is it so hard to be open and honest with the people that we say we love? What is it that causes us to hide and withhold information, not letting others know some of the experiences and some of the thoughts and feelings that we have? So, for those that may not know what transparency is, transparency means being open, honest, and willing to share your thoughts, share your feelings, share your experiences without hiding or withholding anything. So my mothers, I'm telling you now, it may be a little difficult, maybe a little uncomfortable as we talk, because being transparent is very uncomfortable sometimes. So for my mothers first, what are you hiding or withholding from your daughter? And why? But it's not just I see some daughters. What are you hiding and withholding from your mothers? And why? And I don't want to get y'all in trouble. I know some of the parents looking like, okay, you better know, okay. So, with that being said, as you self-reflect and really think about it, why are you not very transparent? What are those reasons that have caused you to hide and withhold information? And so, my goal today is transformation, which means to shift or to change. And in order for everyone to bridge those gaps that may have been created, we have to be able to transform our communication so that we can transform our relationships. Okay? Now, I want everybody to think about it. Let's take it out of the mother-daughter realm. Let's take it to relationships with that significant someone, that boo thing, that babe, whatever you want to call them, right? How do you feel when they are open and honest with you and they let you know what's going on in their life? How does that make you feel? Makes you feel good, makes you feel reassured, makes you feel trusting, right? How does it make you feel when they're transparent about their past situations that has caused them to act the way they act and to do the things that they do? But when they let you know what happened to them in the past, you have a better understanding, you have a better, knowledge of them. You kind of can accept some things because you know, okay, you know what, that's something that person dealt with in the past. Now I understand why they do the things that they do. It is the same with your relationships with your mothers and your daughters. Mothers, I know that some of you have been through some things that your daughters will never know. And some of those things you never want to tell them. However, some of those things they may need to know so they can have a better understanding of why you do the things that you do and why you tell them not to do some of the things that you don't want them to do. So, I need my parents to understand too. Your daughters go through situations also in life. I teach 11, 12, 13-year-olds. I teach middle school, y'all. And these students go through so much, and they've been through so much in just the 12 years that they've been alive, that it's so amazing to see some of the things that they've already dealt with. And then they don't be transparent with their parents either. They don't tell them, they don't let them know. And the question is, why? So, I did some research before I came, and I wanted to make sure I had the knowledge so that we can dive into how can we be more transparent. But in order to be more transparent, we have to understand why we're not. So there is a handout that should be on your tables, and I want you to kind of do a survey of yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, how transparent do you feel that you are, and how well do you feel like you communicate? And if there wasn't enough handouts, I do have some more on the way, and so we'll get you some as soon as they get here. I do apologize. But how well do you communicate on a scale of 1 to 10? And then there's a question on there. It says, if you feel like you do a good job, and if you feel like your communication is very well, how do you feel that you got that way? How do you feel? What do you feel happened that caused you to feel like your communication is pretty good? If you're transparent with your daughter and you talk and y'all are good to go, how do you think you got there? And then if you're not, if you say, I'm not transparent at all, I don't communicate much at all, right? Then the question is why? There's another line that says if you're not, question, why? Why don't you tell them what's going on? Why don't you tell them what has gone on? So I just want you to think about it, because as I talk, I am going to hit on the top 3 reasons that people have not been transparent. And if you fall into one of those reasons, which most of you will fall into one of them, then we're going to talk later on how to change and how to transform to become more transparent so that you can build better relationships and you can bridge those gaps. So the first one on there, it talks about the prolonged fear of judgment. How many fear being judged? Be honest. How many don't post certain things because you don't want somebody to say something, or you don't do certain things because you're afraid of what people might think? Fear of judgment is the #1 reason people usually are not transparent. And let me tell you, and I'm looking over here to see, I know for sure y'all came from the other side, right? So my children say, hey, we fear being judged by our parents too. We fear being judged. We fear disappointing our parents, especially our mothers. But then I need you all to understand. They fear that if they tell you that they may have lack of respect later, or they may lose some of their authority, lose some of that power. You may feel like they're weak because they had to go through certain things. So they don't tell you. Some parents are still ashamed of some of the things that they've gone through, and so therefore they don't tell you because they don't want you to know those tough situations that they've gone through. But mothers, let me tell you something. You might think that telling them makes you weak. I need you to understand, actually, telling them shows them how strong you are. It shows them how strong you have been because you overcame those obstacles. You came through it. So when you tell them about situations that you don't really want to talk about, you got to think about it. Don't be fearful that they're going to judge you. Think about it. They may take it and say, you know what? Man, my mama went through some stuff. man, they might look at you a little differently, but in a better way. Because now they can understand you a lot better. Now, the second one on the list, it's that perceived generational gap of understanding. You know, my young people, they always say, oh, my mama, she old, she don't understand what's going on these days. You know, she's 40, I'm 15, she has no idea what I'm going through. You know, y'all I heard someone say something about millennials, generational Z, and I don't even know what generation I'm in. I have no idea. I'll be like, I've asked my daughter, I'm like, what am I? She's like, I think I'm not a baby boomer, but I'm somewhere up there, okay? But the thing is, there is a generational gap in age. However, some of the experiences are the same experiences. So with that, y'all think they don't understand. They just ain't told you some of the stuff they done. Y'all think they don't understand, but you just don't know some of the things that they've gone through and they've come through. Some of them used to be out there. I don't know y'all. I'm just assuming. But the pressures of life, the peer pressure. Now, the only difference I would say, and I tell my students this now, like if there was a fight at school, it stayed at the school, but now your fights get on social media and now the whole world know, right? That's like the only difference because now more people know. However, a lot of the situations are some of the same situations. And I guarantee you parents though, if you're more transparent with them, they'll understand, okay, you know what? She kind of do know what I'm going through because she did go through this. Okay, maybe I can talk to her about this little boy over here. Maybe I can talk to her about my friends that I thought was my friends, but they were really fake friends. I'm just saying, I feel like somebody needs to hear that. Believe me, parents that went through dealing with friends that wasn't the friends that you thought they was going to be, right? Okay, let me keep on moving. The third thing. The third thing is, now this is a big one, processing unresolved emotions. Those unresolved emotions that cause you to be triggered by certain things that your child may do that remind you of something from the past and you haven't dealt with that emotion. So when you don't deal with those emotions, someone said earlier when they were talking about dealing with emotions so that those emotions don't deal with you. And it will come out with your children. It will come out, especially with your daughters. Because I think Ms. Young said they're like a mirror of us. I can look at my daughter and she is a mirror of me. All me. I'm like, but then I realized this, look. When you all were in our womb, mothers and daughters especially, you actually exchanged each other's DNA, right? So a lot of times, the emotions that we have, they literally transfer into you before you're even born. If you're going through things and you're dealing with things while they're in the womb, a lot of times that will transfer to them. And let me tell you what your parents are trying to do a lot of times is protect you from the pain that they have already gone through, and they don't want you to have to experience a lot of the things that they have already experienced. So you don't tell them. You keep those emotions in. But let me help you really quick. Because if you explain to them why they can't go over to that friend's house, why they can't spend the night at everybody's house, why is it that you have a feeling that this particular friend that they hanging out with ain't gonna be good for them? Don't just say, don't hang out with that person. Explain. Be transparent. Tell them about a situation that you may have heard of or you might have dealt with from the past that explains to them why you shouldn't do that. But a lot of times, I know, because I'll tell you about me, my mom was a mom that was very strict. I had a strict mama. I had that mama where, when you get your grades in, if I get an 89, it was too close to a 90, I should have got that 90, so I'm still in trouble. Or if I got a 90, the 90 was too close to a B, so it should have been higher. I had a mama like that. And so with that, I was fearful to talk to my mama. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to my mama and get in trouble and she fussing me and those things. But the thing is, do you really want to raise your daughters where they are fearful to come and talk to you? Do you want them to be afraid of you? There's a difference between that fear of reverence because they respect you and, I'm not going to do anything because that's my mama. But then there's that fear of, that's my mama. There's a different level of fear. You don't want them to be afraid. And a lot of times that's what my students do. I did a survey. I have the opportunity to do all types of things in the class. So I did a survey with my students last year, and I asked them, I said, if you could tell your parent anything without getting in trouble. They was like, Miss, anything? I said, anything. He said, is my mama gonna read this? I said, no, I am not gonna give this to your mama. I said, but I'm allowing you the opportunity to write it out and express yourself. I went back and read them. The number one thing that the students said was, they feared disappointing their parents. And they wanted their parents to turn around and say, I'm proud of you, without a negative comment behind it. Because I know I was guilty of that. She was dancing, and I'm like, you know what, you did an amazing job dancing. But you know what, that turn at the end, you kind of could have turned. But guess what, all they heard was the negative. And I said, but I said you did good. But that got canceled out with, but the but. And a lot of times that's what we do. And when I talked to my students about it, they were like, yeah, that's what my mama do. And I said, and what about those parents that be like, because I said so. And they're like, yeah, I hate what my mama said because I said so. Mothers, how did you feel when your mother said because I said so? Right? And a lot of times we just pass down what we were taught.
You walking hard.
But the thing is, you know how you felt when it happened to you. And a lot of times, and I'll be honest, myself and my mother, we bumped heads a long time, especially after I had my daughter, because I didn't want to raise her the same way. I wanted to do things different. I didn't feel the love because my mother never said, I love you. She never said, I love you. You know why? Because her mother never showed love like that. My grandmother don't like being hugged. My grandmother doesn't like being touched. And you know what? I didn't learn until I was grown the reasons why. And some of you may know without me even saying it. But the thing is, they got passed down from my grandmother to my mother. And so to me, my mom never told us she loved us. So you never hear it, and then you get fussed at all the time. It's like, okay, not feeling loved was the second thing that students said. Wow. They didn't feel loved. And I was like, you don't think your mama loved you? She was like, no. I had a student this year. We did it this year a couple of weeks ago for open house. She said, no, I don't think my mama loved me. I was like, why? Well, she never got anything good to say. I said, what do you mean? I said, doesn't she say, I'm proud? She said, yeah, she said, but I don't believe her. Wow. I said, well, what could she do and what could she say to make you believe that she actually cared? She was like, well, she has to do it more. She has to do it more consistently. She has to do it not just when I do something special, but kind of like on a daily basis. Let me know that you care. And I was like, that's a great point. And so when we had open house, I kind of, talked to the parents. I was like, hey, this is what your kids are, not specifically your child, but let me tell you what we talk about in class. And so mothers, I really want you to realize, and I don't know your children, but I'm just coming from as an educator that's, right now I got about 150 students. And those are the top things that they talk about. Wanting to feel loved, wanting to get that I'm proud of you without the but in it, okay? So those are the three things. Having that perceived generational gap, having that prolonged fear of judgment, and feeling like you're gonna lack the respect, and then that one of dealing with those unresolved emotions. Mothers, I wanna remind you, you're not perfect. You know you're not perfect. So stop trying to be perfect in their eyes. Because the more you're trying to be perfect in their eyes, guess what? They're trying to be perfect for you. But they need to realize you're not perfect. You have made mistakes. And I guarantee you probably don't tell them some of the mistakes. Some of you might, But guess what? If you told them some of the mistakes that you learned from those mistakes, you took those mistakes as lessons and you grew from them, maybe that would help keep some of them safe. Maybe they won't make the mistake. And you know what? Even if they did do it, you could say, hey, I did tell you. I was transparent. I communicated with you the consequences. Now you made the choice. And the one last thing that I know a lot of parents, you don't tell your children some of the things because you say, well, if I tell them, they might think it's okay to do it because they gonna say, well, you did it, mama, so I could do it too. Daughters, if your parents communicate with you, make sure you don't go throw it back in their face. Oh, I'm talking to both of y'all. Okay. That's why they brought y'all in together. Because look, you can't go and throw it back in your face and say, oh, well, you was out there in the nightclub all night long. I should be able to be out in the nightclub all night long. Not necessarily. They may be telling you, say, hey, if you go to the club, make sure you watch your drink because this has happened to my friend in the past. This is what happened, and I'm just trying to keep you safe. So I'm going to tell you the story about what happened when I was in college. I'm going to tell you the story about what happened when I was 20 years old. I'm going to tell you about those things that happened as a child. And so, in order for us to transform, we got to be more transparent. And so I gave you, it's called the CARE method. The C, and I like acronyms. I go into teach mode, okay? The C is for connecting and communicating. Connecting with your daughters is so important. I used to be in corporate America. I used to be a manager. And so literally when I had my daughter, I was still a manager. I was like, it was all about making money, managing. I was never home. She was at the daycare more than she was with me. And we never connected. It wasn't until a couple of years ago when she was like, Mama, you know, and we were talking. She said, I really felt like I have abandonment issues. I said, what do you mean abandonment issues? I was there for you. We go every summer somewhere. We do things. You get everything you want, like every toy, because I was picking money. She said, but you wasn't there. I said, what the hell is that? That was and she was like, yeah, but you know, I was at daycare and I would cry because you would always leave and then you wouldn't come in till late nights and then sometimes I worked nights and then I worked weekends and all of those things. So parents and mothers, if that's your job, I understand you're trying to make your money. Find time to connect and communicate effectively with your daughters. The A is for acknowledge them. Validate their opinions. My daughter be saying some stuff now, I'll be like, man, that was good. Like, for real. I'll be like, I'm patting myself on the back. But acknowledge them. Listen to them. Literally, acknowledge and actively listen. That's not just you going one way saying stuff. It's a two-way street. And mothers, I know it's hard for us to sit down and listen and not say anything and not interrupt because, you know, we ready to jump in and give our opinions. But actually listen to what they're saying. Listen to when they're sharing. And then the R is for relate. Relate to them. And that relating to them is you have to be vulnerable sometimes to show that you relate to them. E, engage with them and have empathy with them. Put yourself in their shoes. Remember when you were 15? Remember when you were 17? And take that into consideration when they do make mistakes. Sometimes we got that hard way. It's like I got to make sure I'm hard on them so they don't do the wrong thing. How about we talk to them, we listen to them, we get a better understanding of what they did and why they did it, and then we can maybe come to some agreement on how we can move forward. And so, as I wrap up, I just want to be transparent really quickly because I'm getting the wrap it up sign, right? Like, I can tell you this last story. Me and my daughter, we wasn't always this transparent. I wasn't always this close with her because between those ages of 13 and 16, those teenager ages when the hormones are going crazy and they feel like they want to, kind of rise up, it was tough. I tell all my parents between 13 and 16, it's kind of rough. And we went through that. But literally all I did was plant the seed. kept planting the seed, kept telling her, hey. And then she walked into my room one day, she was like 16 and a half. And she's like, Mom, I see what you was talking about now. I get it. I understand what you meant when you were saying these things. It's like it clicked. And I was like, woo! And then I was able to shift from being mama to being mentor. And I want to make sure I say that before I leave. You have to step back and not be mama around those later ages, because they got to start learning how to make their decisions. You guide them. You give them direction. You be transparent with them about what you've gone through. That way, they can make better decisions in their lives. And I created an ebook, and the ebook has more of those ways. It's a guide for mothers to communicate with their daughters. The QR code is on the table, and all of those things that I just said and more. It literally takes you step by step on how to do those things, okay? And then there's a book bundle. I brought my book so you can see. I do have a book, the ebook and this book. If you purchase this is The Power of the Peak, and this is Principles to Live in a Productive, Prosperous, and Purposeful Life. If you purchase both of those, it's only $20. But the goal is to really just help you transform your life through being more transparent. Thank you so much.
That was a powerful